Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kristen and Alex door a new scheme. Alex and Kristen met at Horton Town Square. Kristen scolded Alex for failing at his end of the plan to keep Teresa enthralled while Kristen got near to Brady. They gagged about Brady having turned down Kristen's advances and about how Alex had transferred Teresa running straight to Brady's apartment. Kristen called Alex a pea-brain while Alex defended his decision not to propose to Teresa. Kristen spotted Brady with Teresa and scowled, claiming that she and Alex demanded to up their game. Across the forecourt, Brady and Teresa bandied Tate's rearmost troubles. Teresa wished that Holly would come clean, and Brady claimed that perhaps Holly didn't flash back the events. He bothered Tate would end up back in the halfway house indefinitely. Their discussion was intruded when Brady saw Alex and Kristen kissing at the table, which urged a what the hell. Brady and Teresa approached Alex and Kristen's table and demanded to know what was going on. Kristen said she had been drinking too numerous mimosas and called Alex hot. Teresa snidely asked if it had just been a crapulous sloppy kiss, but Kristen corrected that Alex and she were seeing each other. Brady and Teresa were incredulous, but as Kristen continued averring it was true, Brady snapped, "Good luck, you are going to need it," and he left. Kristen departed shortly after, which left Teresa to ask Alex what the hell he was allowing. Alex said he'd been hurt when Teresa had broken up with him, and she reminded him that she had been hurt when he'd backed out of the offer. Teresa denied being jealous and asked Alex why he'd chosen Kristen DiMera, a low-class hardened miscreant. Alex defended Kristen and reminded Teresa that Teresa had had her chance and had left him with no other choice but to cut his losses. Teresa angrily listed off Kristen's once errors against Teresa, including when she had stolen Teresa's future child. When Alex informed Teresa that she hadn't been a saint either, Teresa continued to rage that Kristen was a vicious maniac from another earth. Alex apologized for how Teresa had set up out about Kristen and him. Teresa told him not to come crawling to her when effects fell piecemeal and when Kristen sucks your smarts out and eats them for breakfast. Kristen caught up with Brady, who told her he didn't watch about her boy toy. He believed that she had been awaiting a different response from him and nudged her about what she saw in Alex, whom Brady supposed a nepotistic glutton. Kristen waxed lyrical about Alex's positive attributes, like his attractiveness, his wealth, his sense of humor, and his implicit as a step-parent. Brady grew maddened at the prospect of Alex's parenthood Rachel and asked Kristen if she had been joking. Kristen reminded Brady how Alex had grown up with youngish sisters and how he liked kiddies, including Brady's son. She called Alex a father figure, and Brady yelled that he was Rachel's father. He scouted Kristen for depriving him of time with his son and lamented how he missed his little girl. Kristen conceded and offered Brady a playdate with Rachel. Brady accepted with the caveat that Kristen not bring Alex and also left. Kristen called Alex for an update on their plan. They both agreed that effects had gone well, and Kristen advised Alex, "Do not muck this up." Xander blazoned that he'd gotten Victoria down for a nap. Sarah joked that he should be preparing for Victoria's teenage times, and Xander claimed Victoria would not be dating until she was 27. He bemoaned how important time he'd missed while he had been locked up, and Sarah tried to cheer him by saying they could plan a night alone and ask Maggie to babysit. Xander baffled and said he didn't want their son spending time with that slimeball, Constantine. Sarah prompted Xander to be more tolerant and to give Constantine a chance. Xander called Constantine a con man who was taking advantage of the situation. Sarah defended Constantine's fellowship with kiddies and expressed her gratefulness that Constantine had been making her mama happier. She believed Constantine merited a chance. Xander berated Constantine again and said he didn't trust the man. Sarah said Constantine was a grieving father and reminded Xander of how they had felt when they had lost Mickey. She also reminded Xander of how numerous times he'd been given another chance. Xander allowed. The comparison was illegal because Constantine had been a con man his whole life. He also believed Constantine was trying to swindle Maggie, but Sarah said he'd no evidence for those claims. Their talk turned to Xander's plans to prove his own innocence in Harris's firing. Sarah suggested they matriculate the help of the Bobbies. But Xander claimed that he demanded to figure it out for himself. And for the sake of his family. At the Kiriakis' manse, John placarded his intention to go to Greece and confess to his part in Katharina's murder. Constantine said that he forgave John and that he wanted to put the history behind them. While John appreciated the offer, he said he couldn't accept it. Despite Steve, Marlena, and Maggie's demurs, John believed his only path to remission was concession. He dismissed Marlena's suggestion of hypnotism as useless and refuted Steve and Maggie's attempts to cast him as a victim of willful exertion. John asked Constantine what he allowed, as the man had been quiet. Constantine said he'd been observing and meaning and had come to the conclusion that John was no longer the same man that had killed his son. Constantine realized that he demanded to let go of his abomination and need for vengeance because Constantine himself had played a part in the events due to his own reckless jest. He mused how Maggie had shown him life has so much further to offer and how he knew he was no longer the same man, just like John. Constantine prompted John not to go to Greece, but to go home rather. John heeded to Constantine's conjuration and to Marlena's assertions that they could move past the handicap together. He unfeignedly thanked Constantine for his remission and left with Marlena and Steve. When John and Marlena arrived home, Marlena confided John for his apparent amenability to let go of confessing. She was worried when John said that he could not do it. He still believed nothing could help him heal except paying the price. Back at the manse, Maggie told Constantine she was proud of him. She also pressed him on why he'd made her suppose that Victor had been his friend when the two of them had supposedly been adversaries. Constantine commended that he didn't want to involve Maggie or to hurt her. Maggie admitted she still had trouble coordinating the man Victor had been with the man she had loved. Constantine claimed Victor and he'd ultimately worked out their differences and that each had come a better man because of Maggie. John, Marlena, and Steve need to go to Greece. The occasion of Days of Our Lives fulfilled a couple of effects. Teresa's covetousness demurred and after she saw Alex and Kristen kissing. The major accomplishment Marlena, Steve, Maggie, and indeed Constantine talked John out of flying to Greece to turn himself in for killing Constantine's son, commodity he allegedly did as the pawn. Perhaps John should re-evaluate his decision. Remission out of the virtuousness of Constantine's heart. John Black continued to angst and discipline himself for killing Constantine's son. He headed to Maggie's to tell Victor's friend that he knows he can no way forgive John. As it was, John could no way forgive himself. He could go to Greece and turn himself into the authorities. The police in Aria would have to kickstart an disquisition and they would find out what would be formally and for all. For John, there was no other option. It was this or nothing. Meanwhile, Maggie eventually learned the wholeness of the details regarding the death of Constantine's son. The man left out a lot when he told her, after all. She came emotional when she allowed Victor had commodity to do with this. She knew it was possible for him to do it, but she had difficulty lining up the man from back in the day with the man she married. But she knew that Victor would no way have sanctioned the death of Notoriety's son. Marlena and Steve tried to be John's gemstone throughout this exchange. At the same time, they really didn't want him to get on an airplane to Greece. Not for a crime that may not have happened. And if it did be, was beyond his control, especially since he'd no choice in the matter due to the mind control of it all. Eventually, Constantine out of the virtuousness of the heart, sounded like a changed man. Suddenly, he let all of the pain and his need for vengeance over his son's death go. Yes, just like that he decided to let go of his abomination. He'd incitement to do this. He'd set up a better life with much further to offer, aka Maggie.